We've all seen the HBO show. We've seen the melting reactors, the glowing air, and the scientists in lab coats looking like they've just realized they left the oven on. Except the oven is a nuclear core, and it's currently cooking the atmosphere. The Chernobyl disaster in 1986 was the ultimate, oh crap, moment for humanity. It's the definition of a modern tragedy. An entire city, Pripyat, evacuated in 36 hours. 50,000 people told to grab their IDs and a change of clothes, thinking they'd be back in 3 days. They never went back. But while the world was obsessing over radiation maps and the exclusion zone, a group of people did the unthinkable. They looked at the invisible poison, looked at the Soviet soldiers with guns, and said, no, I'm not leaving. They are the Samosely, the self-settlers. Mostly elderly women who broke back into a radioactive wasteland to live in the ruins. They aren't scientists or survivalists. They're just grandmothers who decided they'd rather die from radiation at home than from a broken heart in a concrete high-rise. This is the story of the people who stayed behind in the shadow of the world's worst nuclear disaster. Welcome to Echoes of the Fallen. April 26, 1986. Reactor 4 goes pop. For a few days, the Soviet government tries the classic, if we don't talk about it, maybe it'll go away strategy. It didn't work. Eventually, they drew a circle 30 kilometers wide around the plant and told everyone inside it to get out. Forever. For the young people, it was terrifying but necessary. But for the babushkas, the grandmothers who had survived the Nazi occupation, Stalin's famines, and the collapse of the world as they knew it, radiation was a hard sell. You can't see it, you can't smell it, and it doesn't have a uniform. To them, the government was just another group of men in suits telling them to leave their ancestors' soil. So, they started sneaking back. Some hiked through the woods at night. Others hid in the back of military trucks. They dodged patrols like 80-year-old ninjas. By 1987, about 1,200 people had resettled in the zone. The government tried to evict them again, but eventually, they realized that dragging an angry Ukrainian grandmother out of her kitchen is a fight no army can win. They let them stay. Now, you might think life in a radioactive zone involves glowing eyes or extra limbs. Sorry to disappoint the fans of Fallout, but life for the Samosely was surprisingly normal and very, very illegal. They went back to the old ways. They grew potatoes in soil that would make a Geiger counter scream. They drank water from wells that the government had literally labeled death. They picked mushrooms in the Red Forest, the most radioactive place on Earth. Holly Morris, who spent years documenting these women in her film The Babushkas of Chernobyl, noted a bizarre paradox. While the radiation was definitely there, the women who returned to their homes often lived longer and were healthier than their counterparts who were moved to the city. Why? Because in the city, they were refugees. They were isolated, sedentary, and depressed. In the zone, they had a purpose. They had to chop wood, carry water, and garden. They had social capital. They were the queens of their own abandoned kingdom. As one babushka famously put it, radiation doesn't hurt me. It's the sadness that kills. While the humans stayed, something else happened. Without millions of people around to mess things up, the exclusion zone became an accidental Eden. Nature didn't just survive, it thrived. Wolves, lynx, and even the rare Przewalski's horse took over the empty towns. The Samosely lived in a strange harmony with this new wild world. They lived in houses where trees grew through the floorboards. They had wolves for neighbors. It was a post-apocalyptic fairy tale. But time is the one thing radiation doesn't stop. The number of settlers has dwindled from over 1,000 to just a few dozen today. Most are in their 80s and 90s. They are the last of their kind, a generation that survived the 20th century's greatest horrors only to spend their final years in a place the rest of the world considers a tomb. The story of the Chernobyl settlers is a weirdly hopeful one. It shows that home isn't just a place with clean soil and a safe zip code. Home is where your roots are, even if those roots are sipping on cesium-137. These women didn't stay behind to be heroes or rebels. They stayed because they refused to let a human error erase their history. They are a living echo of a disaster that changed the world, reminding us that sometimes the most radical thing you can do is just stay put. Would you have stayed? Let us know in the comments. And if you want more stories about the people history tried to leave behind, hit that subscribe button for echoes of the fallen.